Hello, hello, possums. Yes, it is I, the conspicuous moo, and I thought we'd just sit down and have a bit of a chat today. And for an opening topic, I thought I would go over Activision Blizzard and just the general World of Warcraft news catch-up. Now, I know I said I wouldn't do one of these things, but there's just something so fascinatingly debilitating about this company and a number of the people who are in it. So I should also say that, straight off the bat, I'm not going to be using any other MMOs to make unglamorous comparisons, should we say, to the Blizzard and World of Warcraft of today, because there really isn't any reason to. Truth be told, a mirror is more than sufficient. That said, isn't it interesting that, when World of Warcraft was top of the pile and beating everyone and being the best, the comparisons would come thick and fast with other MMOs that came onto the market, or the ones that were currently there and struggling a little. But now that they're not at the top, all of a sudden it's no longer allowed. So this one's going to be a little bit on the podcasty side. I'm going to put some footage up anyway, which is the exciting adventures of Mistfang the Druid in Turtle WoW. It's not that interesting, but if you want some visual flavour, it's there if you need it. But let's get started with the first topic. So Hazzokostas has been back on the trail with a stunning interview with VentureBeat, which had a lot of softball questions and a couple of little curly ones as well. But it was about as interesting as you would expect an Ian Hazzokostas interview to be. But there were a few gems to pick out of the just general sludge of virtue, opportunity, and challenge. First of all, in regards to the generally recognised toxic environments that they seem to cultivate on Blizzard games, not just restricted to World of Warcraft. Ian has said, we're still concerned about that, and we're putting some actions in place. So what are you doing, Ian? Well, we're taking on the manual reporting system, which is not working by any measure. And we thought, we might adapt some of the machine learning that we're getting from Overwatch 2 and the way that they deal with their players. The thing about machine learning is it's still not as good as an actual human being. And all the clever machine learnings in the world is not going to do anything to address the toxicity of your player base. The problem with your machine learning and your automated systems is that they can be regularly abused, and there doesn't appear to be anyone in place to actually take some context into it and go, oh, actually, on the other hand, that just looks like a whole bunch of people causing trouble for one person who's done nothing wrong, but have now been banned for 3 days because they all reported him at the same time. You actually need to have actual people reviewing these things, and then actually banning them as well. And it wouldn't actually hurt to give us the numbers. If the numbers of people who are actually being disciplined for poor behaviour are regularly published, then at least you can be seen to be doing something about the environment that you have cultivated. It would appear, though, due to the toxicity of the player base, and certainly the ones that are still playing World of Warcraft, that there doesn't seem to be a lot of disciplining going on. I do love the way he described how he was going to put the 9.1.5 patch together. It's like we all got together and we just threw some ideas at each other, and we thought, what are the friction points? What are the things that are really annoying the players, and then get rid of those. Outstanding work. Exactly what you should have been doing all of this time, but well done. But this wasn't really for the players. This was for saving your game and your job, and I think we are all perfectly well aware of that. 9.1.5 is just a bunch of stuff to fix shit that should never have emerged from this beta or the beta before it. There's a reason it was called Beta for Azeroth. Ian Hazzokostas knew full well that players hated a lot of what he was putting in place. But he just went ahead anyway, and it's now only when sub numbers have tanked and players have left en masse for other fields that the entire company's just shit the bed and made an apology patch to get everybody back. Of course, it wouldn't be an Ian Hazzokostas interview without meaningful choices and weighty decisions, which is something he was clinging on desperately to, as people were pointing out how bad the Covenant system actually was. Talking about RPG elements in World of Warcraft is a little rich from a company who went out of their way to excise most of the RPG elements from their own game. We haven't really had anything like that since probably Wrath of the Lich King. All of this meaningful choices nonsense is just a way of slowing people down. I don't like my Covenant anymore. I want to switch to Necrolords. Oh, that's going to take 2 weeks, and you're doing a whole bunch of world quests in order to prove your loyalty to the brand. I mean, it's terrible design, and it's deliberately there to slow people down. It's not a meaningful choice. It's just a pain in the ass. It then goes on to say, well, back in the past, it's very difficult to break, the chains of, older design decisions. Sometimes it's quite difficult. So no, it isn't. It isn't difficult at all. And you know why it's not difficult? Because you're in charge. You're the game director. So it's actually quite easy. What you do is say, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do this instead. Ta-da! Yeah, don't blame past design philosophies for your own stubborn behaviour. When you're the guy at the top, you can make all of the decisions you like, and you should really start owning the decisions that you've made that have got WoW into this situation in the first place. And it does really take some front talking about, we've decided we're going to start respecting players' time. Well, that's a little overdue, isn't it? Because up until now, you've been more than happy to place roadblocks of repetitive chore-like shit in the way of player progress. I've always been an advocate for player agency, and you have been the antithesis of that all the way through your nefarious career of creating this game. It really is disappointing that, of all the departures of Blizzard Entertainment, you are still there. I mean, how much more does this man have to fail before he gets replaced? Does anyone really at this point have any confidence that 10.0 is going to be any good with this idiot in charge? I mean, the grand impresario who looked over Battle for Azeroth, Azerite armor, Warfronts, Island Expeditions, and then Shadowlands with its Covenants and absolutely crappy Torgal system, and go, oh yeah, this is the guy who's going to take us. He's the one who's going to pull this game back from the brink. I think not. World of Warcraft got a new cat mount on the store. Yeehaw! Well, isn't that nice? It's a very nice mount. It's a very pretty mount. Should you be expending any resources whatsoever to be making exclusive mounts that you can sell for cold harsh cash in your shop? Probably not. It's not a great look, is it? I mean, I know they don't care. But I guess at least it's not a 6-month subscription. But, a lot of the whales have feasted on this one already. They've already snapped this one up because it's a cat and cats are popular. Personally, I prefer a Dawn Saber or something like that. I'm a big fan of those cats, especially when I'm playing a gnome. But you really have more important content to be creating right now. So setting a few people aside to make another moneymaker. Oh God, you never learn. The WoW Community Council. It's fair to say this one's got a relatively lukewarm response from the World of Warcraft community. Because, let's be honest, Blizzard's record of communication and taking feedback has been patchy, to say the least, and the much vaunted VentureBeat review, Ian was quite keen on saying, yes, we do listen to all feedback, we just, we'll put it to one side, or we'll take it under advisement. It's another way of saying we just completely discard it, go and do our own thing, fuck it up, and then go back and say, oh, sorry, here's the patch to make it all better. Anyway, back to the council. This is not a new idea, that they had a super secret council before, which was done super secretly. Of course it got out, because these things always do. But, it's not as if this is a new idea. It does really stink of an overt attempt by Blizzard to, once again, hoodwink players to come back and say, no, we're really, really, really listening this time. We were listening for Battle for Azeroth, we were really, really listening for Shadowlands, but this time we're really, 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 really listening. Bollocks. And it's bollocks because, there have been forums for World of Warcraft since Alpha. There have been plenty of suggestions in there. Millions of posts have gone out over the years in regards to, everything from game design to complaints to, plate keenies. Complaints, suggestions, lore, new concepts. Everything. But, trouble is nobody ever reads it. Or if they have, they just don't care. It never ever goes on board, it never implements any change whatsoever. So why does a specially selected council make any difference? Because, you have to bear in mind that this is not going to be a meritocracy. This isn't going to be a whole bunch of people putting, you know, their manifesto forward to be a member of the council and then players, you know, logging in and voting on it. So, you know, the strongest, most popular voices get heard. No, these are people who are going to be picked by Blizzard themselves. So, you know, you're going to have a bit of an echo chamber problem here, I would think. Because, you know, if you type what they want to hear, then, you know, welcome to the council. Here are your robes. Please have a seat. But, you know, if you have, like, I'll go through your post history and see that, you know, you have a somewhat adversarial and frustrated approach to the game because it's just frankly shit right now, then you might find the door, you know, firmly slammed in your face. And, you know, how much change is it really going to enact? I mean, I think the only things that have really been turned over by forum outrage have been the Real ID fiasco, when they were all going to use our proper names on the forums, and then that one of the community guys came out and said, hey, it's not a problem, I'm not worried about Real ID, and then everyone went and looked up, you know, where the guy lived and everything else. It was just hilarious. Oh, I got shot down quick after that, didn't it? And the other one, of course, was the flying fiasco in Warlords of Draenor, where they said they weren't going to do flying, and they compromised on Pathfinder, and we've had that compromise in the game ever since. So, you know, it's only when there's like open rebellion and threats of mass exodus that they ever do anything about this anyway, and this is just another example of it. So, you know, they're saying, you know, we're going to have private discussions about this and that and all and else. But it's, you know, those are going to be leaked. They're going to be screenshotted and all the rest of it, because, you know, why not? Why are you keeping it private anyway? And, you know, the forum that they're going to be posting on is going to be seen by everybody else. So it's going to create a lot of discussion and cluster around in the other forums as people have a crack at those who are lucky enough to be council members. I mean, I just don't see it working properly. I don't see Blizzard even putting in the effort to address community concerns, because it's not a strong point for them in the first place. And, you know, as for, you know, direct discussions between council members and WoW developers, you know, I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's a bit of a content lag right now. So do we really need to be dragging WoW devs off to go and listen to the complaints of some council that's been chosen by the company? It seems like a waste of their time. You know, they've got a lot of work to do to turn this ship around. So, yeah, it's all a bit pants, really. Activision Blizzard had an earnings call, which was very nice. Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are going to be delayed, because of course they are. Everything gets delayed at Blizzard Entertainment these days. I don't know if there's any particular overriding reason why everything at Blizzard has to move more slowly than every other game company out there, but anyway, you know, it looks like we're not going to get them till probably 2023 at this rate, so a bit of a content drought we still have to go through there. One of the surprising things that came out of this is that Jen O'Neill, who was the co-leader at Blizzard Entertainment, is leaving after just 3 months to take on a new role in Women in Gaming International. Now, $1 million has been donated from Activision Blizzard King to help her along in this endeavour. But yeah, that's for an organisation that already has a perceived problem with women, particularly women in authority. You know, having the co-leader leave within 3 months and having just Fran Townsend left on your books is once again not a great look. So, you know, there's been a lot of wonderment and speculation. I mean, we got the official statement, and it was all very pretty, and I'd like to thank everyone, and I'm sure Mike is going to do a fantastic job, but, you know, was Mike the problem? You know, while he does have a decent Twitter game, he's also courted controversy from time to time. You know, it did emerge that he was selling boosts, which is, you know, a practice in World of Warcraft which isn't against the rules, but, you know, it's never generally regarded as good for the overall health of the game. Quite the reverse, in fact. So, you know, I guess we're going to have to watch this space, and, you know, if there is a non-disclosure agreement, I look forward to it coming up so we can actually find out why Jen left. Because, you know, your job's not done after 3 months. Something's happened there. And it will come out in the end, no matter how hard Activision Blizzard King tried to stop it. As for the ABK movement, ABetterABK have swiftly pointed out the company is comfortably making enough money to pay their employees a living wage, something they're still struggling to do at the moment. So, you know, a lot of the quality assurance people are still having to bunk up with their fellow workers because they just can't afford to live in urban California, where they're mostly based. Now, talking of the ABetterABK movement, they did have a large win. Bobby Kotick came out the other day and made some interesting announcements. This was just before the quarterly earnings call, which, is entirely coincidental, I'm sure. But they have decided that they're going to, waive the arbitration clauses in people's contracts for sexual harassment and discrimination cases that are made by employees. So, that is excellent news. But, to pass it down a little, those arbitration clauses aren't going away from current and future contracts, which is what the ABK movement have been demanding. They're just waiving their right to enact them in certain circumstances. So, if you have another issue outside of, say, sexual harassment or discrimination, that will still go to arbitration. So while it is a win, it's a battle won, but the war is still ongoing. Activision Blizzard King's second demand on improving the representation of minorities has gotten a boost too. Bobby has announced that they're aiming to increase the percentage of women and non-binary people in the workforce by 50% inside 5 years. That would bring it to between 30 and 35% representation across the entire employee pool, and also provide $250 million to accelerate opportunities through an ABK Academy scheme, which will target underrepresented communities within different learning structures, different training areas. So that's all wonderful, good news, and an excellent effort on behalf of Activision Blizzard. So they are capable of being good people sometimes. There is also a commitment to increase visibility on pay, but it is an annual announcement, so that's still pretty opaque in terms of transparency, to be honest. I mean, announcing something or giving out a report around the each of the quarterlies, is probably going to be a better fit, really, because you're not going to get better pay quality if no one can see anything for an entire year at a time. But Bobby is taking a nice figurative pay cut to the base salary allowable in California, which is $62,500, until his own board will tell him that all the commitments that he's made in his latest announcement have been met. So yes, this is a blatant bit of tokenism, because I'm sure Bobby can manage to maintain the rent on his own property, unlike a number of his own employees. And according to research, Bobby has currently received about $461 million in total compensation since 2007, about $300 million in stock. So his pay package in 2021, which was more than 5 times his compensation of $30.1 million in 2019, surpassed his previous record of nearly $65 million in 2012. So that was according to Equilar Research. So he's got a few nickels to rub together there. I think he'll be all right. But I guess as a token gesture, it's fine, but it doesn't really mean anything. ABetterABK movement are cautiously optimistic, I suppose the phrase should be. Some or only specific parts of their demands have been met so far. So they're by no means giving up, and they have said that they will continue to push for Wilmer Hale to get booted out in favour of a third-party investigative firm that isn't knee-deep in bias, and they'll probably keep on pushing for unionisation as well, something that Bobby is less than forthcoming about. But I think at the moment a lot of the members are coming to terms with the fact that that Jen has left, and that Fran is still there. Despite all of her poor behaviour, she's still the last standing remaining prominent female leader at Blizzard. So optics are important, and once again, it's not a good look. The timing of patch 9.1.5, some people have been up in arms because it seems that Blizzard are trying to time the imminent release of their 9.1.5 World of Warcraft patch to interfere with Endwalker's release. It's important to note that this isn't a new tactic, and it isn't one that's only used by Blizzard Entertainment. They have done this regularly in the past to, take the wind out of the sails of multiple releases from their competitors. The difference this time, of course, is that the tables have been substantially turned upon them, and they seem to, think that releasing a 0.5 patch a couple of weeks before a competitor's expansion launch is going to dent it in the slightest. This particular competitor is quite formidable, so it's kind of like throwing a rock at a tank. I mean, if you look at the 9.1.5 patch notes, it's immediately obvious that there's absolutely nothing new in any of this. There are quality of life changes, There are removal of absurd restrictions, there's some character customization updates, some Legion content and time walking and the Mage Tower, but you know, it all seems a bit soon for that kind of content. I mean, I do realise that we did all of that ad nauseum and repetitively, not all that long ago, really. And I'm just not convinced that everyone is going to resub for being able to do island expeditions and solo now, or invest in the renown catch-ups. It's just not going to be interesting for many people who have left, because they're probably not interested about the AoE hard cap. They put up with that for as long as they could, and then they left. They're probably far more interested in what 9.2 has in it, and it's pretty nebulous information right now. All we've heard about it from Ian is that it is soon, and that there may be more beyond that patch, which would surprise me, as it's really in Blizzard's best interest at this point to pull the plug on this shit show and start all over again. Preferably with a new game director, I might add. And finally we move on to Insight. Now this is a rumour that's been doing the round since about mid-August, that Blizzard is going to cease being called Blizzard in 2022, and it's going to be renamed something else, kind of like Meta and Facebook. We're going from Blizzard to Insight in 2022 as Activision try and move away from the very many negative connotations that the Blizzard brand has been accumulating during the numerous debacles it's been going through, not just recently, but for years now. This rumour, of course, has been gaining additional traction now that the recently announced cancellation of BlizzCon Online 2022 has come to light. It does have to be mentioned, though, that given in the context of the considerable delays to Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, as well as the likely PTR status of 9.2 around that BlizzCon Online time, there really wouldn't be a lot to show anyone. Plus, they would be spending most of that event desperately smothering any mentions of their legal and cultural woes. So is a name change to Insight likely? Well, it's not inconceivable. I mean, for example, government departments do it all the time when the public perception against them sours. But it usually has the same effect. People just get even angrier at the organisation for thinking that a simple name change and deft application of lipstick to a pig will fool them into thinking that anything's actually changed. At the end of the day, whether it's Activision Blizzard King or Activision Insight King is massively irrelevant. What matters are the actions of the company, and let's be honest, there's still a lot of work to do there. There have been progress in employee relations, but a regression in the departure of Jen O'Neill. There's a commitment to greater diversity, but not the total abolishment of arbitration and current and future contracts. Bobby's taking a massive pay cut, but contracted workers still can't afford their own place. And outside of 9.2, or whatever it is, and whenever it happens, Blizzard really don't have anything major in the tank for likely the whole of 2022. And that's all the insight I have for today. Thank you for sitting in, having a bit of a chat. Be sure to like and moo and sub and comment and moo and honk and wibble and bang. And I will be back soon enough to chew the cud with you again once more. Toodles!